morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Today, our first performer is from California. Her name is Naomi. She's playing a fiddle tune called Bonaparte's Retreat. All right, thank you. So Naomi, what happened there in the middle of the piece?
Oh, I think I psyched myself out. I was like, oh no, I think I can do it. But then I got really nervous.
And so as a result of the nervousness, what happened to your bow?
Oh, it started how was it?
I'll
Looping.
tell you what you did. I'll tell you what you did. You started out the piece with the bows going in the direction that you've been practicing it.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line you missed a slur or put a slur in, and then you did everything with the backwards bowing.
Yeah, I did.
You know, I had a teacher that made me practice, was my earliest teacher, made me practice all my etudes and all my exercises, starting with down bow and then also starting with up bow. And I was very grateful for that because I was playing my juries at Eastman, and there was this one section that came up. It was a up bow staccato where you go up, like this really, really fast. And it's a lot easier to do that than a down, 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 down. And I came up on that passage, and my bowing was backwards. And I saw my teacher getting ready to tap me out and save me. And I looked over at him and nodded, meaning I felt like I was going to be able to do it. So he let me keep playing. And there I went, you know, because my first teacher had taught me to be able to do that kind of thing, I guess, in an emergency. I would like to invite you to play it again.
Yes. Okay.
I think where you did it was at 12. I think you played the D and the E with a separate bow.
Oh yes. I
I think so. Take a nice deep breath. Get a lot of oxygen in there. Good. There's two characters in this piece. There's two characters. And then the next part. And we want to lead into it with the measure before. So in the measure before that, you have the big bow there. You want to try that?
Yes.
All right. Why don't we
Um,
start on the fourth line?
okay.
Hey, there you go.
Is that okay?
That was great.
Okay, thank you.
It was good. Good. Very nice. Well, thank you, my Naomi, and thank you for being first.
You're welcome.
Everybody's always relieved when you come to class. All right. Next, we have the ping pong polka, and we have Mason. Very nice, very nice. I love your bow lifts. That's a lot of fun. Keep your violin in your hand. I'm going to show you a little warm up, a little bit more under control while you're playing that. What I saw a lot of was the violin kind of hanging down and doing something like this. I saw a little, too much of that on your longer notes. And I would love to be able to have you play it with the bow more parallel to the bridge. Okay? This piece is in D major. So right now, let's do a D major scale with martelé and set up the strings so it's parallel to the mirror or to the screen, something like this. This piece is all in the upper half, so you can do this. And then pull back the elbow. Like that.
Okay.
And then the rest of the scale. All right, good. Let's do the A string only part of the scale and make the bow quicker. Now we've done it slowly, now let's do it quicker, like this. Like that. Okay? Let's do the same thing. Start with the up bow and really grab the string more on the up bow. Really grab that string on the up bow. Like that. Up bow. Start up bow at the tip. Good. All right, good. Now let's, can we have you play the ping pong polka again? Right, and just be a little more mindful and keep the violin strings. Strings should be parallel to the floor when you're playing.
Okay.
And that'll help keep the bow in the right place too. And this really goes for anybody who's performing. Always to and warming up for your practice. To spend that time in front of the mirror. And then this. So we're going out for the down bow. See, my arm went down a little there and out. And then the elbow comes back. Like that. Okay. Thank you for playing today. Let's go next to Jared, who will be playing on the Rachmaninoff Elegie. right, good. Thank you. Let's go to that gallery view right now.
I found it to be an emotional piece that really touched me.
Yeah, and what way? What kind of memories did it evoke for you, or feelings?
Just kind of, I don't know, peaceful, but it made me feel peaceful among, I don't know how to explain it. I just wanted to close my eyes and just kind of get lost in the music.
Kind of going inward, it sounds like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, that's part of the intent of this piece. Naomi, did anybody else have any impressions at all from this piece, or how it made them feel, or what did they especially enjoy?
No, I enjoyed it. I really did. I agree with Judy as well. It also made me feel very at peace, and I like it. I drifted. So, and I love how when music makes you feel that way, or it makes you allows you to wander, like you said, inward. So I really enjoyed the piece.
Very good, nice. Anybody else want to pipe in? Agree, disagree?
It felt kind of bittersweet. Um, um,
I feel there's a melancholy and almost an anger in there, especially in the middle section. It's because the melody is so beautiful, and but I don't know how old Rachmaninoff was when he wrote this, but I assume he was a teenager because it's one of his earliest pieces. So I'm thinking this poor guy growing up in Russia in bad times, he must have been, sort of looking at the world like he's this he's this musician who hears these beautiful melodies, and he must have had sort of anger and been troubled by what was going on either in his own life or what was going on, because there's definitely some of that, just like that Brahms piece I played, there's some sort of teenage anger at the world that's getting expressed there in the middle.
Well, Rachmaninoff wrote most of his music much younger, and the famous prelude, the C sharp minor, was written at the same year. He was 19 years old. And the Elegie is a set of, and I'm thinking of your comments that I've heard before, like a fantasy, a reverie, um, drifting, and they're called fantasy pieces. And he wrote 5 of them. They're each of them really, really different. In the first one, he opens with the Elegie. Then the next one is the prelude in C sharp minor, then the melody E major, Poet Chanel. I don't know if you played that one, Jared. That is really fun. That's an F sharp minor, and then ending with the serenade. So he wrote all of these in 1 year. Can you imagine that? Now this was before the Russian Revolution, and around that time he did exile from Russia, and he and his wife left, and they did wind up in America, and he became a citizen. But he died very, very soon after that. I think it was a week or two after he had gotten his citizenship. I thought that it would be. One thing I liked about your playing is you did not play this with the heart on the sleeve.
I try to never do that.
Well, it's especially important in Rachmaninoff. He was not to signal these big signal emotion with big gestures. Instead, just allowing the music to speak for itself. And I really like that you did that when you played this. There were a couple points I want to bring out to you. Well, let's go from the back of the piece and heading in forward from that. Your climatic moment is that at the end of the second to the last line. You could stand to bring that out, or just a slight pause before you do the top scale and let that cascade down. I think I'll give you something real simple that will help set that up. The measure before the last line, don't make that A flat. Don't save it. Don't do that one so loud.
Okay.
you know? Let the right hand lead up to it. Because I get distracted when I heard the A flat octave coming in too loud there. That's still part of the peaceful reverie, elegy mood that we're in.
Yeah.
And then you have your ascending thirds, da 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 da, boo, and then coming down. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Nice. And you know, Jared, that whole last page is all within the pianissimo. I think triple P. Yeah. That's all within pianissimo. So then we go to, in those measures where it starts crescendo, we are going to a triple forte, fortissimo. So there, I like that a lot better. You had that really nice, you had that lovely quiet feeling in there. Um, and then the page before, when you have the cadenza in thirds, your favorite, there's two notes there you can hold and let that sit in a little longer. Again, we can be at a fantasy there. Do you see where I'm talking about? Do you see it? I put a circle around it here.
Oh, that E flat before. Yep, the leading one.
And the left hand also holds.
Yep, didn't even notice it.
I performed this a few years ago here in Asheville, and that fermata, I held it pretty long until things died off. And again, in that section, well, let's just hold it until it dies off, and then you're starting this introduction to going back to the tempo one, which I would do unicorda, by the way. Anytime you have, especially there, unicorda for the pianissimo, I think might make it easier. And the Pio Vivo, that's also unicorda. And on that same page, there was a ritardando you missed, and I'd love to hear that. That's right here.
Oh.
Going back one more page, that page is all pianissimo. And so your crescendos and diminuendos are all within the piano until the middle of the page. It goes to a double forte, but not in the left hand. The double forte lands on the right hand accented chord there. So in here, we're talking about this measure here. So
Yep, so the right
the double forte starts there. The next measure, we have a hairpin, and then you can hit that bass octave good and loud. And good. The first page is all pianissimo. It goes up, it only goes up a level to mezzo forte, the second to the bottom of it, and then to the forte here. So Jared, I found, and for everybody, I found a review of, it was what somebody wrote who was sitting in the audience when Rachmaninoff played his own piece. And to know Rachmaninoff in his life, he did most of his composing when he was very young. And after the Russian Revolution, and he exiled, maybe because he missed his home country, but for whatever reasons, he didn't do a lot of composing then. But he was concertizing a lot, playing and touring and performing. He was a wonderful pianist. And like you, Jared, he was tall. He was
Clearly, he had big fingers.
well, he was 6'6", and he had a hand span of 1.5 octaves. So the title Elegie, in looking at how to play this, the title, by definition, is a mournful poem, a lament for the dead. I think I'd like to read the review from someone in the audience who watched him and listened to him play this. And then we'll have you play it one more time. His name was George Hegel, and he says, Rachmaninoff in a Steinway transformed the indifference of space surrounding the audience, creating a closed-in, self-contained world in which the mind is invited to explore and reflect. You all heard that and talked about it. Elegie does not win the listener with a catchy tune. Rather, it captivates the heart. In the elegy, the sensuousness of the melody is captivating and liberating at the same time. Being a multifaceted pianist with an astute emotionality and grandiose technique, Rachmaninoff is capable of capturing more than an emotion or passion in the music. He seems to share a part of a human experience. We follow changing voices of the elegy with anticipation, never certain about the outcome until the end. The elegy does not allow for easy framing. It's sad without being depressing. It's melancholy. That was your comment about this piece. He says it also. It is melancholic without being banal. According to Rachmaninoff, our emotions are in constant movement. Not accidentally, the elegy, with its almost sublime sadness throughout, ends on a forte in a major key. You did a good job on this part here, Jared. The left-hand melody does not overshadow the right hand. It echoes and supports it in that middle section. The tapestry of the music is never broken, and yet one is breathless, waiting for the melody to unfold. During the 4 minutes of the elegy, a story begins, continues, and ends, pouring into the audience a variety of emotions and celebrating the rejuvenating freedom of man's spirit. Isn't that gorgeous? So let's, Jared, you want to go through the piece again?
Sure.
that was tremendous. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Aww.
I know. He came over in the middle of it. I don't need a scarf these days. Let's unmute everybody and let's do a discussion. Jared texted me during the break and he was thinking it might be fun to talk about what makes a piece, what makes a pop song popular or a classical piece. We usually don't say classical song, we say classical piece. What makes it popular?
I think something that's both like immersive and relatable in pretty much any way. Something that you can get really like lost in, um, and that happens in a lot of different ways, like classical pieces opposed to something like pop. Um, there's like different emotions involved with them, but you can still kind of get lost in it.
That sounds good. That sounds very good. So that would apply for classical or pop, right? Yeah. What about you, Shannon?
I was kind of thinking about this for a little while. I think it's kind of like a good book. It's something that can capture the audience, like a good story. They can not only capture you, but you can relate to, like Addie said, but you can feel some emotion with it. You can get lost into the piece. You can close your eyes and you can feel it. You can see the story developing. You can kind of relate to it a little bit, and yeah, just kind of get lost with it. I was reading some comments about some other pieces that I was listening to, and one of the comments was a good piece is a piece that could make a rock cry. And I believe that if a piece is written well enough, even a rock could feel it.
I think right now is a great time for me to interject a quote from a dear friend that I went to school with at Eastman. He had just, he was posting some pictures about the playing in Broadway's revival of Fiddler on the Roof. And what he shared was something. He says, when I was quite young, a klezmer mentor, like a teacher of his, tested me. And he did it old school. And when we say old school, I was kind of taught old school, where it's a series of questions. And so his mentor said to him, Andrew, what do we do? And he's meaning, what do we do as musicians? And Andrew said, we make the heart audible. We make the heart heard. And the teacher said, okay, but how? How? And Andrew says, by putting everything we have into every phrase. And his mentor said, okay, what do we call what we do? And Andrew's young, and he said, we call it translating light into sound. And his teacher said, wrong. Sound created the universe. Then there was light. Never forget that when you play music. What do y'all think about that? I'm having a wrestling match with this guy here. So what do you think about this idea? The physicists are saying that sound created created the universe. In the Bible, it says in the beginning there was the Word, and so sound has to do with the creation of everything that we see and hear. So what do y'all think about that idea? I mean, what comes to mind to me is that if making music is so closely related to creating the universe, then this is something very deep in our DNA. It's deep in who we are. It's deep in everything around us. It's reflected in everything around us as well. I have a talk. It's called "The Truth About Rhythm. You Just Can't Beat It," and it goes into a lot of these things besides rhythm, but having to do with word and sound and vibration. And I'm talking about the formation of a leaf, the formation of water crystals, and how music is related to all this, and how music impacts it. If you're interested in this, it's a good talk. It's probably about an hour and 15 minutes or so, all three parts. So, anybody want to respond to this idea of how to make the heart audible? Putting everything we have into a phrase. And I wanted to just add that whether it's a pop song or a classical song, if it's a catchy tune, and if it's something that we can sing, that the ordinary person can sing. In other words, something that has a range that is not so wide. Like, for example, like from the Beethoven Ninth. Da 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 bum 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 da 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 dum da 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 bum da dee 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 da 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 bum 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 bum. I mean, it is so much fun to sing, and the range of it's not that much. It's not that much, and many of the popular in Europe, in England, I was playing these duets that were written by Claggett, and they were for cello and violin. And when I was reading about it, these were opera. Yet they turned into pop songs because people were out in the streets singing these tunes that they had just heard. So a memorable tune, and something that somebody who's not a professional singer can jump in there and sing it. It seems to be a part of what makes something very popular. Now, this piece that Jared played, there's no way anybody could sing that. It's so complex. And what Addie was saying, that becomes a popular piece because it reaches those deep and reflective tones.
Well, I was also thinking about it in like historical context, in the sense that like sometimes things are popular in the moment, but they don't stand the test of time, or composers. So, some things are universal and they, cross cultures, and something, whether it's pop music or classical music or and I know like even within classical composers, some, certain cultures or certain countries, they're more popular than others, certain composers, and they resonate, with the people there. So there must be something there's something universal, but then there's something also specific about these pieces that, resonate a certain way with people. I suppose it's like any trend or food. Some things stand the test of time and some things stick around and some things come and go. I was thinking about it because I found my grandmother's old sheet music, or, I inherited it from her, and it's all these pieces, and you've not heard of any of these things, and some of them. I mean, she's got some Rachmaninoff in there and Malagueña and some other things, but then there's other stuff that I'd never heard of it. You can't find it on YouTube. I mean, it's just stuff that can't, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff people listen to now that's popular that will go the way of the wind. So just like in literature, I mean, we read Shakespeare, but we don't read lots of other things that were written back then. So, there must be something like, even if everyone has a different interpretation or a different feeling of it, for me, I think some of these things evoke feeling. It's like even within certain composers, how come some pieces are more popular than others? If the composer was equally talented, well, sometimes they have better days than others. Just like, sometimes they were inspired and sometimes it was a good melody and they developed it well. And sometimes it was a less inspired melody and they maybe didn't develop it as well. Maybe popular taste is a good reflection of that. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's hidden gems that are not popular but are still really inspired. Anyway, those are some thoughts I had on it.
About a week ago, Jared asked me what I'd like to hear for today's class, and we had our conversation the day after our Capitol building was stormed upon. And I chose the Elegie. I chose the Elegie because I thought it would be a good piece to hear. And I wrote something after you and I got off the phone. I'll read it to you. Because music affects our emotional sensitivities, it goes beyond just simply relaxing the mind, or just relaxing, because music isn't visual unless it's performed like with an opera or as a background for a movie. It's not visual. So we can allow the melody to associate with our own life experience. And for this reason, and not by accident, music is believed to alleviate pain or loss of something cherished, or help create an appropriate mood for meditation or reflection. Rachmaninoff's Elegie in E-flat minor is an intellectual masterpiece by all means, which forces a reflection and heals the soul.
I'm sorry. I actually didn't get to practice today. I forgot I had a master class and slept it and laid in bed late. Here we go.
Wait, if you're not warmed up or anything, why don't we push you on to next month?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. I think that would be a good idea because this is pretty challenging. But since I said we were going to hear it, I'll play it. How about that?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. And next we have Addie. Addie is going to be playing a chorale, and you're doing variation 4 and 3/4 time.
Okay.
Addie. So, how do you feel it went this morning?
I mean, I could have done better on intonation and been less shaky. But it's, I don't know.
All right, good, good. I love to teach this chorale, and I've got a number of chorales that are these. I've got a few in first position, and then third position, and then also third and fifth position. It's a series of chorales that each have many variations. And for anybody that wants to improve their technique with their left hand, knowing when to pick fingers up, when not to have a broader sound, to improve their tonal quality, I can't think of a better crash course than going through 4 months of working on a chorale. In this particular one, this is something to work on, this variation, when you've been playing a lot of pieces in the upper half or just a little tiny strokes. I feel that this one, it really is the best medicine for that. Today I noticed something that didn't show up yesterday when I heard you. This is 3/4 time, and you were using too much bow in the beginning. And again, for people who have not used much bow in the past, they have to move the bow so fast to make any sound. And this is requiring one to distribute and to get that tone happening throughout the entire bow and slowing everything down. So when we have the metronome, and I do recommend a metronome when you're working on this, and Addie, I know that you do that. And then in performance, some of the older habits come in. For example, this. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Whoa, there's nothing left there. And 2 and 3 and. Nah. You're going to actually want to divide this in thirds. 1 and 2 and 3. You actually want to have more bow when you're heading towards that third out at the tip, because it's thin, and this is a heavier part of the bow. And so forth. Another thing that Addie has really learned very well in this is how to roll from one level change to another. We have the 4 strings, and then we have the double stops in between, 3 more levels. This one, which is between the bottom 2, and this one. And Addie did a great job with rolling through these. So slow motion. That's really hard to do slow. And that's something that I think you've been really improving very much on that one. You want to try it again, Addie?
Sure.
In saving your bow. I'm sure it's going to sound even better this time. And let's save your bow on it, and let's try a little quicker. I like people to do it really slow when they're doing this or that. When it's jerky like that. But you've got that nice, beautiful rolling sensation. So let's take it a little bit faster now. Okay, and if you find yourself moving the bow too fast at the beginning, stop yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. on that one that has the interval of the seventh. It's in the it's towards the end when you have to stretch the fourth finger up. This one. It's a dissonant sound. And until we get used to it, there's a tendency to lock up a little bit in the right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice that chord again. So you're coming from do the chord before, which is easy. And make sure you're holding the second finger down. Don't pick up that second finger between the two chords.
Sorry.
When you're coming out to the tip, make sure it's not this way. Go out a little bit and then pull it right and go out a little and come right back in. This is what, whenever you are working on something, whether it's double stops, whether it's a group of notes all in one bow, when you have a slur and you're going out there towards the tip, you definitely want to put that little banana in there to spin the bow so that it has a chance to cover up that bow change. You know? It's a nice little trick. 1 and 2 and 3 out. 1 and 2 and 3 in. The in looks like this. And it's done mostly with the fingers. All right, thank you, and Addie, thank you for working on the chorale. I had to play the chorale in. Well, my first teacher was the band director at the grade school, and then we were trying to find a teacher in Chicago, and I went on a waiting list. So I studied with Mary Kay Rose and for about 3 months and did Sevchik. Judy's working on that. She put me immediately into Sevchik, no pieces. And after 3 or 4 months, then I got in with the other teacher, who I stayed with for about many years, I think 7 years. And he threw this thing at me. Now, I was 10 years old. I only had been playing maybe 7 or 8 months at that time. So I encourage all my students to play this as soon as you can. So if any of y'all want to get started, bring it up at your next lesson.
It's a pain to play, but it really helped me out, like in a lot of areas. So I would recommend it.
Well, you're working on the Stamets concerto, and it starts with that double stop, and you probably be a good idea to play it at the next class. I don't know when the auditions are. Hopefully at the end of February, and it would be great to bring the first page into the class and maybe before the audition. All right. And I want to give a round of applause to all of our performers today. Thank you all for your hard work. And we'll all be together again on February 20th.